Hello, I'm John Ryan.
And I'm JD Orr, and this is the Alfie Come Home USA Handball Talk.
It's been very good. But what's it all about, Alfie?
I I knew there was a quote in there somewhere. I didn't.
There's a
I
there's a
forget.
movie. There's a movie and
I
a song.
That's
What's it
right.
all about, Alfie? And I'd play it, but then we'd probably get copyright
Yeah,
issues
yeah, yeah.
if
So
it
didn't want to
was to
fight that.
come.
I knew there was some famous line there. I was like, dang it, I can't on the spot, couldn't remember it. So thank you for filling the
Yeah, it's
gaps.
actually it's actually the Batman Butler guy. What's his name?
Alfred. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
Michael Caine.
Michael
There's
Caine played
yeah.
played Alfie in the original. Then they made a remake.
Oh.
I've seen neither,
Jeez. Oh,
but the
that's
song
funny.
is famous. So,
Okay.
or it used to be at one time. But yeah, we're talking about Alfred Jonsson, a Swedish-American handball player. Maybe he's not the best American handball player in the world. He's certainly in the top three.
Yep. Yep. Definitely up
um,
there on the upper side.
yeah. But yeah, so Chris O'Reilly interviewed him right before the Skjern Savehoff match in Gothenburg. And I'm going to try and play a little bit of it. Sometimes it doesn't come through, but we'll see what happens here.
I'll apologize ahead of time for any additional noises. I'm in the basement of the handball team club president's house. So he's got 8 other guys that he lives with. So if there's any background noise, I apologize. I'll show the crazy ceiling here that we got going on.
So JD, can you hear the can you
I
hear it?
cannot, I cannot
Yeah,
hear
so
it.
it doesn't come through. Well, we'll put the link in the interview uh, um, in the show notes. So people, if they haven't already listened to it, I bet we have a pretty high percentage of people who have already listened to
Tuned
it,
in.
tuned in, um, confirming what we've kind of suspected for quite a while. Um, Still wants to play for Sweden, but definitely interested in playing for the U.S. Has been in contact with Coach Hedden, so I think it's a definite possibility, and the timing is probably right. What were your thoughts on the interview?
Yeah, I think he definitely didn't say no. I think that's the important part. I think entertaining the idea of playing with Team USA, I'm sure he'd be looking to get good minutes, and I think he's probably been very transparent with Robert that he's had some injuries, but he'd obviously like to play with Sweden, and he was very clear that there's guys in front of him on the Swedish roster that are just better. They're playing better right now, and he's not getting any younger. And I think seeing the Olympics in 4 years and realizing like, hey, like if I want to it just comes down to what he wants. If he wants to be an Olympian, that option's there. If he wants to keep striving to be on the Swedish team and probably achieve more national team success, then that's the path he's got to choose. So
Sure. And just to be clear, he just turned 26, so
yeah,
he's right theoretically he's in his prime, right now, and projecting out 4 years, he'll be 30 years old in 2028. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit on the on the older
yeah,
side for
yep.
handball, but you're still you're still in fighting form if you're playing professionally and on a regular basis.
And with the rest of our team, they're in that I think 24 to 26 range right now. A lot of the key members, I think. So it's kind of the sweet spot, I'd say, for that men's team.
Yeah, and just the sense from the interview seems like a seems like the type of guy that would fit right in with our current roster.
Yeah, yeah. Looking at who we've got, and especially him being another Scandinavian guy, we have a handful of them, but not a ton. I think that they offer a nice mellow balance. Good glue guys. So
Yeah. So yeah, and he, you know, you look at Ian Hooter playing center back. You look at uh,
Abu.
Al, Alex
Oh, Alex
Chan.
Chan. Yep.
Al, they all are kind of center backs, but Alex, he's played well at out of
Spanish league.
position at right back.
Yeah.
So Alfred could do the same thing. Um, and he might be in my opinion, best scoring player out of those three, pretty
Yeah.
pretty definitively.
Yeah. I think that it definitely makes teams have to figure out how they're gonna, handle us because it offers a lot of variety in the backcourt. And that's just something that I think would be a unique twist for us because having no left-handed right backs, like strong options, I would say. Nothing against Joey Stromberg and some of the other guys coming up the ranks, Jacob Risgaard and things like that. But it's not been a clean cut as a Boo's had the left back position for quite some time, kind of thing.
Hey, Jerome Fernandez, maybe he was the starting right back for France for many years. So it can be done. It just kind of hamstrings you a little bit in terms of what you can do um, from that side of the court. It's not as bad as
Yep,
a right-handed right back, but it's still a bit of a challenge.
yep, yep.
But but yeah,
We
so
faced
great
that
interview.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, go
well,
ahead.
that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we yeah, it'd be better if he was left-handed.
yeah.
What do you say?
Yep,
Take what you can get.
yep. No, I
But
was just gonna say is a problem we face domestically here, almost on a regular basis, the right-handed right backs. So,
well, yeah, in particularly at the club level,
yep.
you work with what you have. You have your first practice with everybody. And what's the first question you ask?
Who's left-handed? Oh, nobody. Okay, well, we're running two pivots. So,
Um, well, it is what it is sometimes. Um, but great interview by Chris O'Reilly. We'll put a link out there for everybody. And if you're looking for a team to watch when you're watching Tuesday EHF European League, which is a little bit more of an eclectic competition, might as well watch Skjern. You got
yeah,
a reason to watch them now. But that wasn't the only handball played in the last week or so. I guess your Ohio State Buckeyes went down to Carolina.
yep.
Yep,
There's
that was
Blue Cup was down this past weekend at UNC. I think there was 12 teams, um, and we sent kind of a mixed squad, which I would say, given what we talked about on the previous week on how I said they were going to do, they did pretty much exactly what I thought. So at least my gray guys did. They had a very impressive comeback victory on Sunday from 8 goals down. They were pretty proud of, but it ultimately led to what you have on the screen here, which is a all West Point final, which we know all too well at the college nationals level.
people what they want.
Yep.
You know, everybody wants to see West Point Black and Gold play each other.
Yeah.
No,
Um, but the
only
interesting,
people who have graduated from one institution
yep,
ever want to see that played in the final. And
yep,
nothing against West Point, maybe a little bit against West Point, but no, you don't want to see an inter squad scrimmage
scrimmage for a gold medal.
for a title.
Yep. What is
uh,
interesting though, which is in the game before this game, I believe, was the fact that West Point Black starting right back Mark Miller, junior national team player, went down with a pretty serious knee injury. Um,
oh,
so you'd have to. I haven't gone back to watch the play. It was a pretty violent uh, play from what I was being told. I know one of our guys was being assessed for his injury when that injury took place. And I talked with Josh Verstoffel. He was down there doing some refereeing, and he said that they there were not many positive things being said about the outcome of the injury. So not sure if it's an ACL or what. I'm sure Mark will hear back shortly.
Was it a rough play, or is it just
Yeah,
something just happens?
it was a very bad defensive play. I think the guy just completely took him out. Um, so it was
Well,
in the
that would have been against. So I
Miami.
copied down some of the results.
Hmm.
So they played the Miami Storm
Yeah,
in the semifinal, beat them
it was
35-21.
it was in that game.
I'll have to go back and take a look if I can find it. I'll queue it up again
What's
in the
interesting
show
is
notes.
some of the games. I don't know what I'll have to talk to someone at Carolina because the way that they published, they didn't publish all of the games, which I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind that. They also only had one court taped, so that was another bone to pick that the Gray guys had because they only played all their games on the short court on court two, and none of the games on court two were filmed. So, um,
For a second there, I thought you said when you said taped, I was like, oh, they didn't even put lines down.
no,
It's unusual.
jeez. Oh man, that would be something. Well, that looked like six, so maybe it was five. I'm not really sure. It's close enough. Goalies, tough luck, goalies. So,
Well, you got cones out there, maybe. I mean,
yeah,
I was like,
it's
going,
fine.
damn, Carolina getting lazy.
Tough times down at UNC.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if
Well,
you go back and watch that, I guess it was pretty violent play. Which obviously you and I as college handball fans, he's a pretty key player of that squad. Not the only one. They are stacked at a lot of different positions, but he is a key player to their offense. So it'll be interesting to see how they do at their home tournament here next month.
for sure. Yeah, they clearly we haven't compiled all the results and everything, but without a doubt, West Point Black is a prohibitive favorite to win college nationals again this year.
Yep.
Um, they have gotten better, and from what I can tell, everybody else has gotten worse.
Yeah,
Um,
Carolina graduated a lot of guys. We graduated quite a few guys on Scarlet as well. So yeah, so it's, and I haven't heard anybody of any concern at Air Force. Usually,
I saw them play West Point. It was a total mismatch.
okay.
Um,
Kavanaugh
yeah,
always finds a secret weapon, in the springtime. But
well, I guess my fear is, and again, um, you're talking about promotion for the sport. If you ever, try and get serious, um, uh, the Alabama's JV football team doesn't get to play its own schedule and play for a national title.
yep,
Um, and Alabama's second team, probably Ohio
could,
State's second team,
yeah.
probably could beat quite a few schools. Um, and it would not surprise me right now if West Point Gold, um, based on the results of this tournament, uh, makes it to the final.
I'll tell you
If
this
there's no
much. I'll
restriction.
tell you this much. The West Point Gold center back. When I watched him play at Handball, number six. I'm blanking on his name. If he's a freshman, I think he is because I didn't recognize him from before. He's going to be a force to be concerned with moving forward if he's a freshman. I mean, he had a very natural knack for attacking, good shot. Definitely going to be a good player.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the other things I don't like about uh, there's pros and cons. Obviously, if you got Ohio State has two teams, it's gives everybody a chance and opportunity to play. Um, yeah, I think for the most part, West Point Black and Gold keep their teams separate.
Pretty separate. Yep.
But in the logical progression of things, if you have a great player on your second team, you bring him up to your first team. You don't
Especially in
have him
events that matter.
in events that matter, and that's something for them to strive for. And so you kind of get uh, a strange situation when you have definitively separate first and second teams, and you're treating them as sort of equals in a
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Um,
I,
again,
I that's where I like to look at it as like a varsity JV, and like I just left lacrosse practice, and when we get to the playoffs for lacrosse, you take all the good kids from JV, you put them on varsity just because there's injuries. When you make a deep run, you want to make sure your team is stacked as best as possible.
yeah. And that's where I guess if we ever got serious, we ever uh, wanted to more definitively set the table, so to speak, your
Hmm.
national championships would just have, my opinion, would just have one team
Yep.
from each school. Or if you had a second team, they would be
You have a
restricted.
whole second team tournament. Like if you got,
Exactly.
there's a whole separate, you know, basically event for those teams. Because right now, look at it realistically. Pittsburgh's got a second team. Whether they can financially travel is a different conversation. Ohio State's got a second team. Carolina's got a second team. West Point's got a second team. JMU usually has a second team. Um, that's five that I just listed. I think Air Force has similar kind of thing. They might not travel, but they got enough bodies. So right there, I just rattled off six colleges that have two teams. So
And I guess um, when we've talked about the Trailblazers, which I just put up there on the screen, and you know, since starting that, I've kind of separated from that,
yeah,
let you
yeah,
guys do what your thing is. I'm also not in charge or anything, so hey, what can I do? But
yep,
have the idea, let it go forth. But when I was kind of at that one meeting, I was like, on JD, some of these teams just aren't ready for prime time. You're, again, it's a trade off.
yep,
Do we treat every team as prime time so we have more teams? And they're striving to get better, or do you wall it off and say, hey, we have a first division, we have a second division, we play friendlies
yep,
between first and second division teams, but we have teams at a certain level, and we're going to make those games be more serious, um, and count more than trying to put every game all in the same bin.
yep.
Um, and I haven't seen, I've watched a little bit of the Trailblazer action. It's a low angle, I can't really see.
Yeah.
But you guys are guess you're going to have a tournament. Boom! All of a sudden next week, I didn't even know it was coming up.
There's a multitude of factors on that front. To touch upon your earlier point, it's this video that's a funny one. But it's just one of those things that I agree that we need to find a way because there is such a drop off between, I'd say, like different buckets of teams, and I think that that's where the ranking system so that we have an outside kind of party, even if it's a coach's poll, just like football, or you know, we have a panel of voters that says, hey, here's the people that are in Division One, here's the people that are in Division Two, and that way it's defined. This is where those people are residing. Um, and so then as far as this weekend goes, um, we had a mix up in the schedule and trying to get facilities reserved and things like that. And that's where I am not going to be there again. So 2 weeks in a row of not being in attendance for handball. So I am leaving this in charge with the boys. Mike King will be there. He'll man the ship. So I'm not overly concerned. But um, yeah, we've just been focusing on our half of the side here. We tried to coordinate with the others, but James Madison was really the only one I think interested, but it logistically they're just it's too far away to try to make them super included in some of these events.
Yeah, yeah. So you got the two Ohio State teams, Case Western, Pitt, Cincinnati, and Miami.
Miami. Yep.
So you got to got a heavy schedule. Looks like you're playing shortened games. Well, maybe not.
No. The only there's we ran into a time crunch on Sunday, so I think one of the games on Sunday is going to have to be a little bit tighter, but otherwise, all games Saturday will be 50 minutes. Sunday here you can see we got uh, which I'm looking at that time right. That time frame's wrong. So um, yeah, those are he messed up this post. So all right, I'm gonna
All
thank
right.
you for
Well,
looking at this.
we'll
So
sort it
the
out.
time the times are the order's right. The times are a little off. So um,
But
but either
you got
way, yeah,
you got 6 teams. They're to varying levels, known marketing quantities, so that's a good thing. Uh, would like to see an East and West showdown, but maybe we're not quite there yet as a collegiate competition
yep,
structure at large.
yeah,
Maybe
and I
that's
think
wishful thinking.
I think it's one of those things that we got to stick to the pods, and it leads to you know we don't have to all be in the same conference because then that's just the entire league. You know what I mean? So like if we have a conference and UNC, UVA, James Madison throw somebody else in there, they have a conference. Then the two conferences, the conference championships, the conference champions could play each other for a league title. You know what I mean? So that way, then you're getting kind of in your East-West conversation. So
Yeah. Um, Part of that is the coaches getting together. If teams have
need
coaches,
coaches. I think
need
that's the
coaches,
other.
um, and organizing what makes sense.
Yep.
And maybe you guys take a look at what you have, and what you have makes sense for where we're at right now. But I think the goal would be, maybe a pod, if you will. Would be like a 4 team grouping,
Yep.
and those teams play a double round robin, and they don't have to travel too far, to make that happen. Um, we talked a little bit. I guess maybe we segue now a little bit to talk about the weekend tournament concept and uh, the problems that we have with it. Like, I don't know. I didn't watch much of the Carolina tournament. But
Yep.
when those injuries seem to happen? They seem to happen on Sunday
Hmm.
after teams have played a bit and they're not moving quite as well. And I haven't even seen the play. I saw the play at the Samoa Cup where,
Yeah.
where the guys,
I envisioned something of that level of physicality based on what people were describing. So
it's, I doubt very much handball players are typically good guys for the most part. They're not looking to hurt people. They're looking to play physical. And sometimes when you play physical, um, you make a move that's a little bit less safe than others, and you do that when you're tired.
yep.
You're not moving your feet as well. The offense is not moving their feet as well too, and you get awkward situations, and people get hurt. Um, and there's a reason why the professional teams they complain about having to play 2 matches a week. You
Yeah.
know, uh, and you know the same way in the NBA, less physical sport, but they're playing 3 matches a week typically, three, some 2, 4,
Yeah.
depends on how many days. It's almost, um, and you get to the point where people are resting bodies and stuff. And, they've done studies that show, hey, you play less, you get hurt less. And we're doing the crazy opposite end of the
Yep.
spectrum, which is
Playing as much as possible.
as much as possible. And it's funny. I try. As you get older and you get further from your playing days, you forget how much you loved playing. And if I had made a significant travel, I'd want to get as much out of it as possible.
Yep.
Um, so, the solution is more teams that are in a closer
Proximity.
uh, proximity. So then you get together, for that big tournament. It's like a special thing that you do maybe once, twice a year instead of as what we've kind of morphed into a season long thing. Which Ohio State, none of these teams are following that model though.
What you're
Um,
saying the weekend?
what's the farthest any of these teams have traveled this year?
Uh, Miami went to Pitt. That was the furthest that they went.
And that's Miami of
Otherwise,
Ohio,
yes, yes. Sorry, just to
not
be clear.
Miami,
Yeah, good
Florida.
call, good call, good call. And Miami, also Oxford to Pittsburgh is about 4 hours, I believe. No, it'd be about five because it's 2 hours to Columbus and 3 hours, so about 5 hours. So
5 hours is doable though, I think.
yeah, and that was
Um,
a very rare that weekend is a whole hot mess. That was 2 weeks ago when I wasn't going to include Miami anyways, but then we had the I handball, which they have three guys on that team. So I'm like, well, just bring your whole team then, and we'll play some games. But realistically, I've tried to keep it so Miami and Cincinnati, they're 45 minutes apart. Columbus to Cincinnati, hour and a half, 2 hours. Columbus to Cleveland, where Case is, 2 hours. Columbus to Pittsburgh, 3 hours. So, we're in a very nice, you can do 3 hours, you can drive there, play a game or two, come back. It's a nice day of handball.
yeah, I guess the question is whether it's a 2 day handball thing. And I think one of the nice things is if you can have some type of get together, like on a Saturday night, people get to know each other,
Yeah,
talk, have
mixer.
fun, and
Yeah,
then play maybe a game the next day before you roll out. Stay in somebody's frat
yeah, yeah.
frat floor or something. And,
JD's
and I think
basement.
I, I think that's how you start to bond, as a team when you go on a trip like that.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's where the distance comes into play as to how far, if you're flying, God, I'm getting as
That's
much out of this damn
yes.
damn trip as I can.
Yep, yep.
Um, uh, but
Which is
but
where I look at Air Force and San Jose State. They're that's the problem. Nope, there's no other teams for them. I mean, they can play against adult club teams, but from a college standpoint, their flights are the only
I
option.
see, and that's where I'd like to see once we get our organization or institutions all figured out is that um, like Air Force. I would like to see a concerted effort, to get programs up at CSU and CU Boulder. I'm fine if you CCS, but University of Colorado, Colorado Springs for people who've never heard of it before, and there's a reason you've never heard of it before. It's
Yep.
not as big a school, um, and I think handball can be played at any school. But when you're looking to start programs, you're better off with a bigger school where you got more bodies um, to gather them from.
I would say it's tough to completely go all in on that because I agree that from a numbers game it should make sense, but at the same time, a larger institution like a Big Ten school, an SEC school, ACC school, your big D1 powers, there's more hoops to jump through. If I were to go to a University of Dayton, you know, which I've tried hand time and time again to get kids, they already have an intramural tournament. They do stuff there. um, it's a lot easier to just poof, you're already a club sport. At a place like Ohio State, you have to become a student org, and then you have to do that for a year and a half, and then you got to do this, then you got to do this, and then you're a sport club, and then you can finally, operate in a normal fashion. So
I get what you're saying, JD. I think there's a number of factors. There's like
yeah, yeah,
how hard is it institutionally? How many how many students are at the school? What's the characteristic of the school? Are they big club supporters?
yeah,
How close are they to another motivated institution? Here's a perfect something I don't even know if you thought about. Wright Patterson Air Force Base, Dayton,
yeah,
Ohio.
yep,
I
yep,
somehow avoided that
yeah,
for for,
good,
for 20 years, which is pretty hard to do when you're an
yeah,
aerospace engineer.
yeah,
But I managed. My roommate Dayton, first
He
assignment,
was,
married,
yep,
married somebody
done,
from Dayton.
locked in,
Where does he live now?
Dayton.
Dayton.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah. But but there are probably, if you wanted to coordinate and do a little bit of work, there's probably at some point some handball guys have been stationed in Dayton and they're looking at
oh,
something to do. And
I've talked to
you could
him. I'm on top of that one.
that's something that could be coordinated, that could be worked at. And you time it with like when that guy gets his assignment. The assignment's typically 3 years, maybe four.
Yeah,
And you would say, okay, so and so is a big player. He wants to be a coach, and he's living in Dayton.
yep.
Let's set up. You could have Wright State there too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, you
So,
know, it's like they told me the cheers for the Dayton
oh,
Wright
right
State game.
state, wrong
Wrong
university.
university.
Yep, yep. Can't read, can't write, Kent State. There's a lot of good ones here in Ohio. So,
Yeah, that tangent. That's something that you're missing a little bit in Ohio. Whereas, because you have like the one behemoth state school,
yes,
and then you have all the little
we got
little
about a
brothers.
Mac. We got all the Mac schools.
Yeah. Whereas Iowa and Iowa State, they're roughly the same size, and there's Northern Iowa, and
Yeah,
Drake also plays Division I basketball. But those are the two schools. I mean, you got your Ohio State, Michigan, but you don't have people uh,
from the same state fighting each
choosing
other.
which in-state school they're
Yeah,
going to go to.
yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to go on a real super tangent, I just learned the other day, and I kind of knew about it. Maybe the second best high school basketball player in Iowa grew up in Iowa City, 2 years older than Caitlin Clark. Iowa did not offer her a scholarship, and she
Wow.
went to Iowa State. Now, why would Iowa not offer maybe the one of the top
Yeah,
five players ever? Maybe it's because Caitlin Clark and Ashley Jones played on the same AAU basketball team, and they
they
weren't the
weren't
best of
friends.
buddies.
Yep. Mm.
They don't hate each other, but honest to God, Caitlin Clark would have gone.
That's
Her brother was a backup quarterback at Iowa State.
yeah.
So her family decided we'll drive 2 hours to Iowa City instead of 30 minutes.
Going to Iowa State.
Anyway, too much
That's
of a
a
tangent,
yeah. No,
but
it's a real problem. So on that
um,
segue of basketball and sport here, we'll continue our, you know, handball athlete or would this athlete be good at handball conversation? And why don't you present to us today's athlete of
I
conversation?
thought I would go with the one that you suggested.
Oh, okay, good, good. I'd like to do a different sport, week to week, so that
Exactly.
way.
We'll talk about the GOAT, Tom Brady. What's your
So
take?
my thoughts on Tom is that there's only one spot for him on the handball court, and I don't even really like it, and that would be a goalie because he's not fast enough to get up and down the court. He's not agile enough to do anything in the backcourt. He's fairly big. He's 6'4", 6'5", I think. So he's got some good size to him, but I don't know that his reflexes are crazy good. But he's definitely got the outlet passing down. So I just don't think he's got it in him to play in the backcourt, and definitely not wing. So
Are you talking 40-year-old Tom Brady
I'm talking even
or
peak Tom
22 year
Brady.
old Tom
I,
Brady?
I'm saying peak Tom Brady. If you look at Tom Brady's speed rating in any Madden game, I guarantee there's no way it was ever higher than like 80. Like dude, he and Peyton Manning moved in slow motion. Absolute awesome quarterbacks. Do not get me wrong. I'm not hating on Tom Brady in that sense, but from a running
Well,
standpoint, no.
I did a little bit of research on Tom Brady because I'm always curious. And we've gotten into this argument before,
Uh-huh.
um, regarding what sports make sense um,
Transition.
to transition. And I looked up his Wikipedia page and did that. Speaking for myself, the great player that I was,
Hmm.
I played football, basketball, baseball, and I did track too. I was mostly a high jumper. Um, and I've always said that my handball skills were 65% basketball, 25% football, and 10% baseball, and 0% track. Um, Tom Brady played basketball in high school. And
Okay.
according to this, he was a pretty good baseball player.
He was going to get drafted by the Expos,
Yeah, that's
and
what that's what it
he was
says
going to
there.
play catcher, which is where a goalie aspect, kind of getting in front of things. Those my thoughts. So,
So, got a good arm.
yep,
I think he could have been a backcourt player, but I don't think he would have been an elite backcourt player. I think he would have had. I think he would have struggled in one-on-one situations, but I think he would have been. Uh, I think he's the type of guy that probably could get a set shot.
scroll down, see
And
if they have his draft or his combine metrics.
oh,
Um,
this is a
oh,
huge file, so I don't know.
okay.
Um,
It would be, dang it. Okay, it would have been right there. Oh, there it
yeah,
is. Okay. Nope. Okay, right there. All right, what's his vertical? 24 and a half. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's where I look at the 40. Like that's where granted that's not everything obviously, but he's basically 6'4.5. Yeah, decent other times, but vert 2 foot vertical. So like if you think about him trying to jump over, he's not jumping. I mean, I bet I could get a 20-inch vertical right now without even trying, and I'm not a premier athlete. So um
you see
just
what
gonna
the Max McClung's vertical is?
yeah, I mean that dude, he's been like that
It's
since high
twice that.
school.
It's like
Yeah, it's
48
48.
inches.
Easily higher than that. I mean, that's what's crazy. So, and that
Oh,
guy, look at the timeline of events for McClung. He went from nobody, G League, nothing, nothing, nothing. Oh, I'm gonna go win the dunk contest. Back to the G League, back to whatever. Oh, I'm gonna go
a
win the dunk contest and back. So,
little bit of a tangent there. He could be a decent handball player.
talk about a wing taking off. I mean, he's freaking gonna dunk it around the six.
Yeah, he would be a solid wing. Um, and maybe he could be. I don't know how quick he is. I think if he was super quick, he'd already be in the NBA instead of where he's at right now. He's pretty small. Um,
Yeah,
that might be one to take a look at closer. Well,
yeah.
JD, uh, well, you enjoy your weekend, and hopefully maybe Ohio State will just like roll through the tournament. They'll say like, we don't need this coach.
Yep, that's what they did. They did the on this past weekend, so we'll see if they do it again. So,
All right. Well, for JD Orr, I'm John Ryan, and thanks for listening.